Hey guys, it's the start of summer, and as kids, we always looked forward to this time of year. The freedom, the sunshine, the afternoon sprinkler parties with friends, the later bedtimes, the excitement of so much play. As adults, I'm telling you, I am talking to a lot of folks right now that, dare I say it, like seem to be dreading the summer ahead because they know it means that they'll still be heading into a 9 to 5 job and they won't be getting to play nearly as much as their kids. When I asked one client during their consult call what they deeply desired, they called it out and said, I want to leave my job. I want to spend the summer with my kids playing, but I'm too loyal and just can't walk away. Yeah. If you've ever felt that or thought, gosh, I wish I didn't care so much about this job or this company, about these teams, about these relationships, then this one's for you. I got that text message recently that said, Britt, I got to get out of here, but I just can't seem to pull the trigger. Help. Immediately, the lump went through my throat because I knew exactly what he meant. And my heart hurt for the situation that he was being like kind of forced into. And it was happening again. Like this was another incredible, high achieving, freaking rock star of an employee, just a good dude, a loyal, brilliant leader in the organization who had just reached the end of his rope. And although he knew it with every body, like part of his body, he was so stuck. And I'm talking so friggin' stuck. I had been there too. So his story and his situation, like it was really personal for me as any. I had been the leader with the organization with the outstanding reputation. Like I was sought after and deeply, I cared about my teams and the work our organization was doing and the importance of the job that I held. But I reached the end of my rope when I knew that I had to make what felt like and I'm going to say the word selfish decision to say those two little words that I quit. And it was the toughest thing. And I say this all the time. Quitting was the toughest thing besides parenting that I've ever had to do because there was so much, and this is what we're unpacking right now. There was so much guilt, okay, for walking away from a team who I'd been doing life with together for years. There was shame. I felt like me leaving was somehow like an outward sign of being ungrateful for all of the opportunities that I had earned and had been granted over the last 9 years. I felt disappointment. I knew that so many folks would feel like I was letting them down in a time when my leadership and my expertise it was needed the most. There was definitely fear. Like I knew that my career longevity and excelling path, it was pretty predictable, okay, in the organization that I was leaving. And I was leaving that perceived predictability and stability and like creating naturally that's going to create a lot of fear of like uncertainty in my life. It was also, and this may be the part to hear if you're going, like, this may be the part that's kind of hard to hear if you're going through this right now. It was also an ego check. Okay. I really wrestled with how I was going to be able to navigate going from being like at the top of my game and my job to starting at the bottom again. Like that doesn't sound like fun. And that hurts an ego like nobody's business. And while now, sure, looking back, I can recognize like the kind of bravery and the courage and the faith and all of the characteristics of the person who I really wanted to be in my life, that I was and I am all of those great qualities in the middle of it all. Like, yeah, it was all heavy. So, in my conversation with him, I offered up just a couple different resources and perspectives that I want to share with you too, just in case you're in the thick of this and you're walking through that heaviness. Number one, and this was a game changer for me when I came to terms with this, is that it's okay if you've outgrown this chapter. And I'm going to say that one again. You've outgrown this thing in your life, and that is okay. And even though it's comfortable, and even though you have like an immense amount of gratitude for the journey and the people and all of the things, it's okay if this is no longer the chapter that you're supposed to be in your life story. Often we all get caught up in places we were merely meant to travel through, never meant to be stuck in. So if there's like a pull and if there's a deep desire that you want to leave and you deeply know that's what would be best for you, well, then that's not just coming from like some random thought or from one bad Monday. Like that's your gut, that's your intuition, that's your spirit trying to tell you that it's time to move through this one and onto what's next. Number two piece of advice that I gave him, I said, you got to ask yourself, what's really at the core of knowing it's time to move on? And this is something like I absolutely emphasize in any of my coaching around, quitting things like this, is that just there has to be an emphasis on it. So, and I also emphasize this in my mini video series about how to be prepared to quit your job. And that's just like, you got to peel back the layers on your why. And it's so vital. And the reason it's so vital is that whatever move you make, you've got to know that you're making the right move and that you know you're not going to put yourself right back into the situation that you're trying to get out of. So it's just as exhausting, okay? Like if you're exhausted from all of the BS over the last however many years or 6 months or whatever it may be, like you've come to terms that this is not the place where you can make a difference the way you know you're meant to. Pay attention to that. Like how much longer are you really going to push that down? Because if it's different, if, for instance, this was just a bad quarter, then what could be on the other side of that? Like, could you potentially create a new role, or could you switch up your team or switch up your leadership or switch up your resources? Like one bad quarter may not be a signal that it's necessarily time to move on. And I'll share this too, is that you are absolutely right that it will be tougher to start new somewhere else rather than put in at least minimal amount of effort into trying to like improve your current situation. Okay. That's just fact. You are already on the payroll. You're already in the door. You already have some influence. So you owe it to yourself to at least try at least once to better your situation from the inside out versus just jumping ship. And I say that, of course, like recognizing that for most of us high achievers, and even too for myself and for this gentleman, and then maybe even too for you, that the chances that as the high performing professionals we are, that we have given everything to attempt to change the situation versus jumping ship, like I do believe that too. I knew it was time for me to close my own corporate chapter about a year and a half before I actually resigned. Okay. And every day of those 18 months, you better believe that I gave it my all to make the situation what it needed to be. It just was no longer serving me the way that I knew in my gut I needed it to. And that goes back to number one, right? That was okay. And I had to allow myself to come to terms with that acceptance. All right, number three, I had to find ways to work through all of that emotional baggage that came with the situation I was in, and just like knowing that I needed to leave, but not able to actually make the jump. And again, in the thick of things, like everything feels so heavy and so much more intense than it really is, so much more confusing and so paralyzing than other things that I had experienced. It was crazy. So if we unpack that together, again, going back to like those emotions, those heavy emotions, the guilt, it's a spiral that goes nowhere. Guilty for feeling like quitting is failing, guilty for leaving a team and a leadership that you may actually like and connect with, guilty for opportunities or promotions or projects you took on that you're like immensely grateful for, and you somehow forget like that you earned those opportunities. But instead we feel as though like we were given a favor or something. Guilt for putting my family through the version of me that came with nothing but like a bad attitude and drained energy, that I know that that was impacting them too while I was trying to figure things out. Guilt for allowing myself to string myself along that long without like making other decisions to actually change things for myself, and just keeps stacking up, which is just so crazy and so not um beneficial. I mean, it's self-sabotage at its back. And two, I would say like heck, I think there was one time over that 18 months that where it was like I considered an opportunity and I took an interview, and then I even felt guilty for that. All right. So you've got to unpack and get a handle on your guilt to really dissect what is rooted in truth and what is rooted in just mental trash getting in the way of you stepping into your next, even better thing that you know is much healthier and is going to be much more meant for you on the other side of this like noise that you're currently walking in. Your self imposed guilt is standing in your way, and that's a choice. Yeah, that one hurts, right? I know. Okay, so what can we do about it? Adopt a new perspective that will empower you instead of suffocate you. Like, could you allow yourself to see, for courage it takes to passionately pursue something better for yourself? How much dedication and energy and time and maybe even blood, sweat, and tears you've put into using your strengths through this really tough time? Like how even when you haven't been at your prime, the way you've still showed up for your team and your leadership and the organization, that's some pretty superpower stuff right there. Could you allow yourself to see how much of a legacy you could be proud of here at this organization? And that's cool. And that's just based off of what you've already done here. Like it could be what you've already done, it could be more than enough. And it's how you earned those promotions or those projects and how you created and set an example for others. Could you allow yourself to see that you are never the only person feeling the same thing? And that the best thing you could do for yourself and maybe even others is to, again, like show them how to make bold decisions, even if it's tough. Could you allow yourself to see that there's no shame in wanting more than what this current role or organization can give you? There's no shame in wanting more for yourself and then taking action to build a life where you have the energy to focus on the things that you want to focus on, like a summer full of play with the kids, or where you are excited and able to be passionate about your work, where you feel lighter instead of so heavy all the time. In fact, heck, I feel like it's shameful for you to do the opposite, to stay in the place that you darn well know isn't what you want. Like that literally is the equivalent of saying, well, it's a crap sandwich, but I guess I'll order that one again and again and again. And why don't you make it a triple while you're at it? What? Come on. Know that you are better than that. Okay. Your gut, your intuition, your pattern recognizing brain is trying to get your attention to say it's time. And while all of this, yes, it feels so heavy, is because it's literally like this internal battle with yourself. Not even your organization or the people or the project or the tenure or what job will I be able to land next or who's going to pay your bills. Nope. Mm-mm. This is all so dang hard because you know it's time to move on and you're in an internal battle with your own emotions. Logic says you're over this. Logic says you can start considering other opportunities. Logic says your energy is no longer best served here. Logic says you've planted your feet in a chapter that you were merely meant to walk through. So, one of the ways that I unpacked my emotional baggage, it happened over a series of a few months, okay, where I spent a lot of time journaling, like every day. So instead of logging onto work way early, I started taking even just 15 minutes to start my day off with asking myself, like, how I was feeling, what was triggering me, what would make me feel better, what did I really want, why is this no longer aligned, and like peeling back the layers of my own emotional internal battle, short circuiting, honestly. Even after just a few weeks of doing that, like I started recognizing the patterns of my guilt, a lot of which I've already like was able to share in this episode. And I even started recognizing the patterns of like my ego and my fear, which was really helpful too. So the fourth piece of advice, like I gave him, was just this reflective question about how much of the current paralysis is rooted in ego. Now, never have I ever showed any signs of having an ego. Like I didn't think I really did. And I had no idea what a punch in the gut it would actually feel like when I had to come to terms with the internal conversation that I had with myself. It was like, okay, wait, Britt, like you want to leave a job where you're on top and you have credibility and all the things you've literally spent your entire career busting your butt for, sacrificing time with your family, pouring your everything into this career here so that you can go be a beginner without credibility, without influence, without a say, without anyone even knowing your name. You want to go backwards to sit on the bottom. That sounds stupid. You're an idiot. Yeah, that was there. That was pretty much, yeah, that sums it up. Okay. And you may be laughing right now as if like you think that I'm joking, but I swear, I think I have it like written in a journal, something that says like that very same thing. And also, too, either you're laughing at me or you're all of a sudden like sick to your stomach because you're like, oh my gosh, I've had the same internal dialogue. And you know what? Like, well, yes, okay, there is some truth in what I was telling myself. Starting over is an extremely humbling experience. I will also say that like those that perception and those words I was telling myself, it was coming from a place of ego I didn't even know I had. And what I learned is that we can be prideful. We should be. We've done incredible things in our careers. We should be proud and we should allow that pride to propel us in confidence towards our next steps and towards our next chapters. You're right. It's because you have done amazing things. It's because you have worked hard that you get to be in a position where you get to choose to go take a risk for yourself to better and to passionately pursue that more that you're longing for on your terms. You get to make the choice to leave, and that's a gift. You are so lucky that you get to be in a position of choice. Now, it doesn't mean it's easy, but you, my friend, like you've proven to yourself that you can do hard things. So if you've been at the bottom before and you rose up, you have already proven to yourself that you can do that. That the drive, that the work ethic, that the relationship building, the expertise, the determination, the high paycheck, the all the things, okay? All that is already inside of you. And it's actually probably stronger than it's ever been because you've been walking through this tough season. These current crossroads, they feel heavy, and yet they are also a gift. So when I started to recognize that, and when I started being grateful for the struggle I'd been walking through for a year and a half, that's when I realized just how much I was so prepared to make this tough choice ahead of me. And that's when I realized and became so grateful that I really was capable of making the best choice for myself and my family, even if my ego didn't love it. Even if I carried some guilt and some shame for the things that I'd be leaving behind, even if I carried lots of fear, I was so grateful because I also carried courage. I also carried a bold, like knowing in my gut and my intuition. And I got to be grateful for the time with the organization, grateful for the people and the relationships and the experience gained, grateful for the courage, the determination, the work ethic, and all the things that I knew were going to propel me forward in my next chapter, even more so than they had in this one. And I guess I'd say that maybe the fifth thing here is just like it's the power of well, not even just the power of gratitude, it's the empowerment of gratitude. Like when we learn to have gratitude for the tough season, we create space for slivers, okay, of joy to infuse into our brain waves. We then like are reprogramming a good chunk of the head trash to be then from a helpful and a more optimistic and a more wholesome place instead of those fears and those limiting beliefs. We start to recognize the best pieces of ourselves, and that creates even more confidence for us to make the choice that we know deep down is meant for us. You know, um, as I'm looking over this podcast outline, like I could see maybe how all this feels like a lot of emotional stuff. For me, the emotional stuff was the piece of this transition that I had to work through the most because I'd worked in staffing for 14 years, like navigating hiring and firing resignations and all the logistics. So I knew that once I could emotionally regulate, I'd be able to make the right moves like the pro that I was. And if you hear yourself saying things like, well, I don't even know what I would do with my benefits, or I wouldn't even know how to plan for the timing of my last paycheck, like I will tell you that you can't use those unknown logistics as your crutch anymore because I literally created two things that you can access today, like right now, okay, that walk you through your 7 steps to a confident quit. And it lays out your step by step on how to quit with confidence. I highly recommend that if you made it this far through the episode, there's value in the mini video series that I've got out there. So it's like literally, I think it's under $100. And just if you want to, so that video series is going to walk you through, I think it's less than 60 minutes, and it'll show you how to quit and how to set yourself up for success with that. Or two, if you do not want to pay, there's also a free checklist. So I'll make sure that that gets linked. I did have someone recently share with me that they watched every single second of that video in December, and they kept the printed checklist on their desk in front of them every day. And by the middle of January, they gave notice from their 20 plus career in education. So talk about working through the emotional struggle of like loyalty, and also what a beautiful gift to finally make the decision she knew she had to make for herself and for her family and for her dreams and for her life. Okay. So go check out the show notes. I'll put a link to both of those resources that I literally created for you for this. It's you can't use it as an excuse anymore. Okay. So get out of your own way, remove barriers for yourself, and make this move happen. Okay. Like we always do, this was kind of a longer one. Overall, just the unjuggled summary here is all right, what is it? So it's life is created in a way that we're meant to have fun. Like we're meant to look forward to the long summer days again. And we're definitely meant for more play in our lives. So if you feel like you darn well know that you cannot stay at your current employer any longer, but there's some emotional stuff that just keeps you clocking in every single day, then remember, and please start paying attention to that. Number one, it's okay if you've outgrown this chapter of life. You've been stuck in a chapter you were meant to pass through, and the rest of your story is waiting for you. Number two, knowing what is really at the core of you wanting to move on and paying attention to the patterns that you want to repeat and the patterns that you do not want to repeat in your next chapter of growth. Also, face the emotional baggage head on, whatever it takes. You could journal, you could talk about it in trusted circles, you could work with a mentor, you could grab a course, like whatever. You have to do and you have to face the emotional baggage that's going to allow you to then adopt new perspectives that empower you instead of suffocate you. And then not last, number four, I think was keep your ego in check. All right. So our egos, they like to make decisions for us sometimes, but is that the piece of that you really want calling the shots? And then number 5, just recognizing the empowerment of gratitude. So, yes, even in this season, gratitude could be just what you need to start realizing how much the struggle is meant for you and shaping you for what's next. And oh, how sweet it will be when you can acknowledge all the parts of you that make you the incredible, superhuman high achiever that you are. So, if today's episode resonated with you, just know that you do have other resources to tap into with this transition, and you're not alone, and you're not crazy for feeling like this is so tough. We can tell ourselves things like, oh, it's just a job, or, truly like there's, or kind of like almost like downplay it, like it's just, yeah, it's just a job or just a season or just a whatever. But truly, there's no need to diminish just how important your work and your position and your relationships and maybe even this organization is to you. It doesn't have to be just a job if that's not how you really feel. It's okay to care deeply about this. And now it's also time to start moving out of being stuck here and start looking towards that what's next, that summer sun, okay, that's trying to call you towards more for your life. You've got this. Until next time, bye. Hey, thanks for listening to today's episode. It means the world to me that you're here to ride in the struggle bus with me and that you're willing to consider different perspectives, tools, and techniques that just might provide a little bit of relief and get you one step closer to the abundance that is available and waiting for us all. I hope you take a moment to grant yourself some grace where you've been denying it, some love where you didn't realize maybe it was right in front of you, and some faith where you thought all was lost. If this episode had an impact on you, would you please share a comment with a review? I'd love to hear what landed for you, and it helps us get the word out to our fellow struggle bus riders. So please review what was impactful for you. Just know these episodes are a pure labor of love in a space where I'm growing alongside you. I'm evolving every day, and I look forward to all the ways and the things and the perspectives and opinions and choices that will change over the course of time in my own life, day to day. Until next time, just know that you are loved, you are divinely cared for, and in the struggle, the journey of this life really is beautiful. I'm glad that we're in it together. Cheers.